Hello, everybody. All right, number 276. Uh-oh. What is that? I can only see it in the video. You guys see the steam. I wonder what that is. Let me move this. That was weird. I don't see it when I turn around, so. All right. Any questions? Today's Q and A is, like I said, 276. We're creeping up on 300 videos. Huh? We're creeping up on 300. And while we're waiting for a question to come in, I thought maybe I would start talking sequentially about the books that I've written. Just so that you guys know what they are, what we're, Oh, that's, I keep looking over there. It's my cup. It's cold in the house. And so, hello, Kevin. Happy Friday. Yeah, so let's talk about real quick about the first book. The first book that I ever wrote was the Physical Trumpet Pyramid. Oh, let me pull this down. Okay, that's what's wrong. The first book I wrote is the Physical Trumpet Pyramid. It was a disaster. Now, what do I mean by a disaster? It was not. It did not end up being what I intended it to be. I didn't understand, even though I had been teaching by that time for 10 years, I didn't understand how students were. I had this assumption that every student was just as hungry for trumpet stuff as I was. So that first book, now the new versions of the Physical Trumpet Pyramid are not the same. I completely rewrote it so that the Physical Trumpet Pyramid that used to exist, that's not what we sell today. So when I say that the Physical Trumpet Pyramid was a disaster, I'm not talking about today's book, but and I'm not kind of really talking about the old book either. I'm saying that what I intended did not happen. I thought that the students would take the theories that were in the book, come back next week and have their own routines, right? And so yes, the daily routines. I mean the Physical Trumpet Pyramid book, in that regard, was a disaster because I didn't understand just what I was expecting from the students to create. I thought everybody could just do that. Here's the concept: make your own routine, right? So it took me, I want to say it took me about 2 years to write that first book. I did not, the computer stuff didn't exist yet. Sean asks, will I ever make one book out of all the Chops books? Yes, that's in the plans. I have to finish the other 2 books first. The first book is done. I just haven't published it yet. And the second book is, I guess, the last book, the number 7, is, I guess, 2/3 done. Anyway, so my point is that it took me like 2 years to write the first book, and then it took me about 1 year to write the daily routines book, the first. Now, I didn't have a computer yet. Computers weren't a thing yet. I mean, for people, I remember my brother had a computer, um, but there's no way it would have done what I needed it to do. So, my first two books were written in hand, and I had a typewriter that I used to write the text. So, um, so yes, that first book was not very good, and I immediately set out to write the second one because I needed for my students to be able to have access to that material. So yes, that's the physical trumpet pyramid. Now, what did I change? I like my friend Daryl Bayer. He's the music director of the Woodland Symphony, and he's also the owner of Texas Brass and Herald Trumpets. Um, I like what he calls the physical trumpet pyramid. He calls that the teacher's manual. He calls the physical trumpet pyramid, as it stands today, the teacher's manual. It's basically so. When I wrote the second book, I approached it with an entirely different attitude. Um, I wanted to write the second book in a way that they didn't have to have any understanding of the concepts behind the book. And that was hugely successful. I'm not talking about the second book yet today. We'll talk about it next week. But I just wanted to point out that that second book was motivated by the first book. The first book was such a failure that I went out of my way to write the second book in a way that nobody needed to understand anything. And so today, the physical trumpet pyramid book is considered optional. You don't have to have it. If you want to understand why the routines work the way they work, you can buy the physical trumpet pyramid, and it'll tell you what the pyramid is and give you some understanding about the way it works. I do think that the physical trumpet pyramid, that the structure of the pyramid is divine. I don't believe I was smart enough at the time to figure all that out. I think there are benefits to the Daily Routines book, the Chops Express book, and the Trumpet Chops books. I think there are benefits to those books that go beyond what I planned. I wasn't smart enough to actually know everything that those books are capable of doing in your plan. So, anyway, any questions? Any questions? What's holding me back on the seventh book is that all the other books I wrote when I was practicing. I would try something, write it down, and then try it again the next time. And if I didn't like it, so it took months to write one of those books. The problem today is I'm not practicing, not like I used to. I shouldn't say I'm not practicing. That makes it sound terrible, right? Um, I'm not spending the kind of time that I used to. Um, and so I don't have the luxury to spend that time writing like that. Yes, the seventh book, Sean asks, is the seventh book the virtuoso? Yes. And you know, the reason I haven't published the Pioneer book yet is because it's no, there's no. Sean says I thought I got that already. No, there's no book yet. It's not published. Um, and the reason I haven't done the Pioneer one is because at that level, it's almost identical to the other two books. The almost identical to. No, I do think it's better. Um, but in terms of the length, in terms of um, effectiveness and stuff, nobody really needs it because they already have the other two, and it's so similar to the other two. So yes, it's hard to get motivated. That said, it's on my list. Um, you see over there in the corner my little whiteboard thing. On the whiteboard is a list of books that I'm trying to get finished. Most of them are done, and it's the time that it takes to get it over the finish line. But when I say done, when I'm using the word done, I'm talking about the 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 actual publishing. So get the cover done, get the front matter finished, make sure it's got. Believe it or not, right? One of the things I have to do is make sure it's got the right number of pages. If I don't, I'm not into advertising. I should be, but I'm not. Um, I think, and I've told you guys this before, I think your success is the best advertising ever. When you guys are successful, that is my advertising. So anyway, my point is that um, we don't put ads in the books because we want ads in the books. We put ads in the books because the number of pages is messed up, and we don't want too many blank pages at the end of the book. You have to sell them in groups of 4. Um, all the pages have to be in groups of 4. Sean asks, do I have one book that is my favorite? That's hard, huh? Well, I will tell you, I'm going to give you a not so straightforward answer. My favorite book is always the one I'm working on right now. Okay, I enjoy writing books so much. Um, so I've got this massive project I'm working on. Um, and I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying that. That's I like, so if we had to say, okay, that doesn't count and it has to be something you've already finished, um, I would say that my favorites are the duets. And if I had to pick a single duet book, see, that's hard because, okay, I wrote the celebrations book, and it's got a bunch of really beautiful duets in them, and hard ones, and cool sounding ones, and stuff like that. But I wasn't as good of a writer back then as I am today. That sounds weird, right? That was 20 years ago. And don't get me wrong, the duets in that book are excellently crafted. But the way I write today is different. Um, so I would say if I had to pick a single one, I would say that the the 40 trumpet player duets would be my favorite book. Just because it's got the more modern stuff in it. I say modern, it's not modern. Um, but yes, I do these duets with the students that come here to the house. We don't do it like online, obviously. Um, but yeah, we do the duets with the students. And by the time I do it with the students, the process of writing them is lost in my mind. And it's it's as if I'm playing someone else's material. And I enjoy those books. Actually, all three of them, right? The trumpet pioneer duets, the trumpet tyro duets, and the trumpet um, player duets. It's so lovely to sit and with a student, and here's the thing: not only is the music transported, right? That's the word I used in one of the videos. The music in those duets is transportive. It takes you someplace else. But not only that, you look at the impact it's having on the students. And just sitting down in the lesson playing those duets, it's it's so wonderful to see them making that kind of progress and having a good time while they're doing it. Kevin says, if you hit a point where you are looking for other ideas that will also sell, had you considered a book on publishing a book? I've considered that. I have a friend whose wife has published a few books, and she's got a book about publishing a book. I'm sure I've written. It's not a contest, but I'm sure I've written um, like 4 or 5 times as many books as her. Um, but yeah, that's something to look at. Um, I've done so many now that the structure in my head is now there's not a lot of structure to the duet books. except that you try to make them. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there is structure to the duets books because I like for my duet books to be equally represented in every key. I'm talking about the three new ones. I like for the educational duets to have equal representation for every key. So that takes some doing because we don't want the duets to fall out of range. So yes, that took some doing. And I guess that's what I mean by structure. But each book has a different kind of structure. This massive project that I'm working on now, I'm just telling you, it's huge and it requires a lot. I'm going to show you a worksheet that I've got. This is from one of the books. I'm in the process of figuring out what order they're in. And this is not the only worksheet. This worksheet goes with this worksheet. And then there are other worksheets on the backs of these. And this is just to show you the kind of work that I put into organizing the book. Okay. So here's another worksheet. Here's another worksheet. So what I'm saying is that this stuff is extremely organized. Extremely organized, extremely what do you call it? Extremely structured, organized and structured. And so the CHOPS books are all structured like that. And the big thing about the CHOPS books is that the structure has to be consistent. That's one of the things I got wrong in the original Daily Routines book. If you look at the Daily Routines book, there's more content in the third routine. It wasn't called, I didn't use the levels yet, so I just called it Group 3. Group 3 was bigger than all the rest of them, and I didn't plan well enough the number of exercises. So now I have a spreadsheet for the CHOP stuff that that makes sure I don't get the number of exercises wrong out of proportion for the more advanced stuff or whatever. So yes, there is quite a bit of structure. Let me see if I can think of a book that doesn't have structure. The Calling has very little structure. It's just a collection of random pieces. This is Ashby, everybody. I introduced you to Ashby last week, but she was over there on the her perch. She's got a perch because, like I told you last week, this is Ashby Bird. This is my Ashby Bird. And by the way, well, no, I won't say that. I see someone's question was retracted. Any other questions? I'm sure you have done it already, but could you talk about how to know when to progress to the next level? Yes, we can talk about that. That's actually a very good question. Um, let's say this first, because I've had some students that I don't understand what's going on in their head sometimes. And I actually, by you asking the question now, this popped into my mind. Um, it's not emotional. That's the biggest thing. It's not emotional. And so there should be no fear. There should be no, and here's the thing. When you do change, don't go back. There's people who I've had students where they they make the big switch and then they're terrified that they sound so bad. Because when you first switch to the next level, it makes you sound bad on everything. The only time that's not true is when you weren't at the right level in the first place. And I've had that too. But there are students that when they go to the higher level, they're so upset that they've lost control over the instrument that they go back to the lower level. And it's the thing that bothers me is that it's all emotion driven. And that choice should not be emotions. It I'm about to put out a movie about my most ambitious students because you guys have heard me say in the Q and A that the most ambitious students are the worst ones. And I wanted to clarify that and what I mean by that. Um, and that video, I'm thinking about publishing it on Monday. Um, but it's already uploaded to YouTube. I just have to set the publishing date. Um, but yes, if I can see that if you're still stuck in that mentality that says you have to try hard, let me tell you this. There's no such thing as trying hard on the trumpet. Trying hard, first of it's just not a thing. So if you find yourself trying hard to play better, then maybe you're one of these people because trying hard is just emotional. Trying hard has nothing to do with the nuts and bolts of how we play trumpet. There's nothing you can do to try harder to play better. It's not like a sport where you can, I have a garage door that's, maybe I shouldn't use that as an example. But just, stuff that you have to do that takes more effort, more physical effort. You can do better by trying harder. That is actually a thing. Playing your trumpet better is not one of them. The more you have to try, the worse you're going to play. So, with that in mind, when you switch to a new routine, has nothing to do with trying. And how do we decide when to switch? Has nothing to do with your ability to try. They are not related. If you have to try, then there's something wrong with the way you're practicing. I know that sounds like a broken record. I keep saying it over and over and over again. It's because it's so important. It's so very important. Because I think this is why so many people get it wrong when they switch. They either change too soon or they change too late. Okay, I take it back. Changing too late is also not a thing. But you know what I mean. They if they wanted to, they could have changed months ago, years ago for some of them. That's not necessarily a problem. Changing too soon is a problem, always. And so let's look at why someone would change too soon. Because they've got this think I can, think I can, think I can attitude about the higher notes. The way they're approaching the routine is wrong to begin with. They're thinking in terms of, if I try harder, can I do this? And when they're on the lower routine, ready to move up, they're thinking to themselves, oh, this is so hard for me. I need to try harder. So therefore, I'm not ready to go to the next routine. That's the wrong thinking. I'm going to say it one more time. I've said it too many times already, but it's so important. When you have to try, it's not right. There's something wrong with the way you're practicing. So let's take a look at the signs that I'm looking for. If you're in the lessons, the signs I'm looking for when you're ready to go to the next level. The first sign is that the chops books don't make you tired anymore. Now, here's the thing. What kind of fatigue am I talking about? I've had some adult students that said, oh, I'm a little tired here still. I won't move on. I'm not convinced that the fatigue that they're feeling is the fatigue I'm talking about. These are almost always students who are older than I am and who have had lessons with great teachers before they got to me. And so Kevin asked, am I talking about burning in the corners? No, I'm not really talking about that. When we talk about the kind of fatigue I'm talking about, the only way you can know is with the quality of the sound. So you get through the whole. See, you can have a great sounding, you're playing the routine and it sounds great. You can still have burning in the corners. But if it sounds great, if it doesn't have that, how do we know what a fatigued sound sounds like? Once you've reached the point of fatigue, you start getting fuzz in the sound. Oh, let me reword that. Let's say more fuzz in the sound. We all have a degree of fuzz. But what happens when you reach the point of fatigue is that fuzz is pretty much dominant throughout your playing. That's the biggest thing I'm looking for. You get through the routine and you still have a good sound. And maybe I shouldn't even mention fatigue, because that's too many people have abused that and as an excuse to not move forward. But then you can do the same thing. That said, you can do the same thing with the fuzz in the sound. There's ultra purists that don't want any fuzz, and then they're just going to sit on that lower level, waiting for the fuzz to go away. That's not right either. So, what about some other symptoms I'm looking for? When you do the tonalization studies and you end up playing higher than you thought you were playing, and it had a clean sound, a clean, beautiful sound. Same thing happens on the lip slurs, right? You play the lip slurs and you accidentally overshoot. And when you do accidentally overshoot, the note that you accidentally hit had a great sound on it. Those are the kinds of things. You know, I have a student that's officially right now, he's at the player level. And I heard him yesterday, and he played up to high C in the middle of his music. There was no high C in his music. He played the music a harmonic or two too high, and it was gorgeous. It sounded great. This is a student who struggled so badly to play a G not long ago. And I'm not saying now what range, what routine was I having him in when he couldn't play the G? I had him playing the player routine. And even though he was struggling with the G, I made him continue to push through. Now, that's not something that works if you're not alternating days. You do that every single day, you're going to have more trouble than what you've got now. But if you alternate days so that you're still playing up to E and up to C on different days, then pushing through on a note that you're not getting at all is the proper way to do it. But now this student is ready to move on because he missed the note and went up all the way to high C, and it sounded beautiful. That doesn't mean, now let me be clear about this. That doesn't mean that when you start doing the higher routine, it's going to have a clear sound. Those, when you play an accidental note with all, for some reason, I think it has to do with the subconscious, right? You hear me all the time talking about the subconscious. When we accidentally play a higher note, I believe that the subconscious is doing everything it's supposed to do correctly. When we do it on purpose, that's a whole different thing. Okay? Now, what are the two components we need to play higher? We need familiarity. Familiarity, if you don't have the familiarity, those notes aren't going to sound good all the time. Sometimes you're going to get the note and it's going to sound terrible, but you have to have that familiarity to move on. So yes, there is a time when you move into the new range when it doesn't sound so good, because you don't have familiarity with that range. Sean asks, does your lip buzz direct correlation to how high you play? No, not really. I can lip buzz to maybe D or E in the staff, but can only play higher on my trumpet. Is that a thing? Yes, always. That's true for just about everybody. Yep, that's true for everybody. I've had students that couldn't buzz up to the G in the staff, but had a solid high C. Now, ask me this other question. Is that the best way to do it? And no, that's not the best way to do it. Yeah, Kevin says the same. It's true for him too. We want to strive to get the higher notes on the buzz, but we also don't want to stress over it. So yes, we strive to play higher. I'm going to tell you that the reason you're not being able to buzz higher has nothing to do with strength. I'm going to say it again. If you can't buzz higher, it's not because of your strength. It's because of you doing something wrong on the buzz. Now, what is it that's wrong? Nobody can tell you that. You have to discover that yourself. I can give you some hints with things that students have done in the past to get the higher notes on their buzz, but it's always different for every player. It's always different. Kevin says the buzz in general, not the high C, not there yet. Okay. Yep. So anyway, you guys get my point, right? That's what I'm saying. So I think talking about the routines, it's so very, very, very important to keep in mind just how important the subconscious is. Keep in mind always just how important. And what do I mean by that? What does it mean that the subconscious is important? The subconscious is what's playing the trumpet for you, not your conscious mind. Your conscious mind should just be enjoying the ride. Now, if you're not there yet, don't panic. Don't criticize yourself. Don't try. How do you try something like that? You can't try that. You can't try harder to let your subconscious mind do the work. There's no trying in that. It's something that has to just happen naturally. And I'm going to tell you, the harder you try, the less likely it's going to happen. The harder you try, the less likely it's going to happen. There are things that we can do to speed it up. One of those things is to practice slow. And if you want to speed it up, practice slower. Okay? If you want to speed it up, practice slower than you're already practicing. That's one thing that you can do to make it subconscious faster. Another thing you can do to make it happen faster is to do more repetitions. Kevin is real good at this. Kevin will do, I'll say do 20, he'll do 50. I'll say do 50, he'll do hundreds. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but Kevin knows what I'm talking about. And yes, that will make the subconscious stuff speed along. Now, that said, there are certain kinds of stinking thinking that will make even all the tricks that you can do to speed up the subconscious stuff. There is stinking thinking that will make it not move. There is stinking thinking, just the actual think about it. I've told you guys many times over that great trumpet playing is subconscious. And because it's subconscious, it's vulnerable. What do I mean by vulnerable? Vulnerable to what you think and what you believe. And you can practice as slow as you want. You can practice with as many repetitions as you want. But there are certain things that you can think that will ruin it all. Oh, yeah. Kevin says, and the more likely you are to get hurt badly. Yep. Kevin says, I only did it because my brain is slow and not getting memorization as quickly as some. But the benefit is that you can't play something too many times. And you know what? Let me. I shared something with a student last night that was very different from how I've ever said it before, and it's worth repeating here. There are famous musicians that will tell you, don't just endlessly repeat stuff. Don't just endlessly repeat stuff. And that they combine this with this other thing that's a myth. Don't practice what you can already play. Don't endlessly repeat stuff, and don't practice what you can already play. The only way you can become a virtuoso is to practice stuff you can already play. There is no other thing. And this goes back to the trying harder, right? You don't try harder to play more complicated stuff. That's not how it works. But the way I was explaining it last night to this student is beautiful, right? I told him that these guys that tell you not to practice endlessly the stuff that you can already play, just don't repeat endlessly the stuff you can already play. Take a step back and look at their careers. What do they do every day of their lives? They play music over and over again that they can already play. That's what they get paid to do. You don't go on stage and perform stuff that you can't play? So let's look at how much repetition they're getting on music they can already play. Think about it. You guys, the first song that we learn that's a standard in my jazz program is Autumn Leaves. Do you think these guys don't play Autumn Leaves in public? Do you think Autumn Leaves is hard for them? Really? Most of them have probably been playing Autumn Leaves for 40, 50, 60 years. They are repeating this stuff over and over and over and over again. So don't believe people when they say, don't practice what you can already play. Let me ask you another question. Do you have as many gigs as they do? The answer is probably no. Okay. The answer is probably no. You probably do not have 5, 6, 7 gigs a week playing songs you can already play. Do you think they don't get any benefit out of the time they spend on the gig? Of course they get benefit out of that. So these guys that are telling you don't practice stuff you can already play and don't repeat stuff endlessly, they are being, I don't use this as a criticism. I use it as the meaning of the word. They are being hypocritical. They are telling you something, they are telling you not to do something that they do every day of their lives. Every day of their lives. They play, and even the jazz stuff, even the improv stuff, they are constantly playing stuff that they can play, and they play it over again and over again and over again. So don't let anybody ever tell you that it's wrong to practice stuff you can already play. Don't let anyone ever tell you that it's wrong to repeat that stuff over and over and over again. So if you want to speed up the process of getting it up here into the subconscious, that's the answer. Repetition, slow tempos. That is the answer. Without all the mental baggage that comes from the terrible thoughts and terrible emotions. What are the kinds of things that can cause you, if you do the repetition and you do the slow practicing, what are the kinds of things that can rob you of your progress? What are the things you think? Impatience. That's one of the big ones. That's the, you know, the ones who have to get it done faster. So they try harder. It's going to screw everything up. That's going to screw everything up. That'll hold you back. When you're playing that slow piece of music, let me get my horn. And by the way, I talk about this in the video that's going to come out on Monday. I want you, when you're playing this slow tempo, I want you to be absolutely content with where you are right now. Remember, did you guys ever do that experiment that I asked you to do? where you didn't try to play, you didn't strive to play higher. I think it was the high stuff, right? Don't strive to get better. Just follow the sequences that I teach you. Does that make sense? Don't strive and see where that takes you in the amount of time. I think we said 3 months or something like that. I forgot all about it, so I apologize. But when you take something real slow, and I'm just going to make some stuff up. Let's say that's a real fast piece, and you can't play it as fast as it goes. When you're sitting there playing it at that tempo, be okay with that tempo. Don't have in your head, oh, this has to be faster. This has to be faster. It's taking too long. I need to have this fast by Tuesday. I'm going to tell you, you might as well not practice at all. By the way, the metronome method that you use to creep things up, I'm of the opinion today that that's not a very good method. Unless you do, people say, well, let's do 10 at each level, right? Unless you're doing 50 at each level, which is a waste of time because there's other techniques that are better. I still use the metronome method but it's becoming so increasingly rare for me to prescribe that method. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. When you are actually doing the slow practice, enjoy it. Don't hold yourself to this standard that says, oh, this is not good enough. The standard should be applied while you're not playing. And then turn back off again while you are playing. This is how you rig your mind for success. While you're actually playing, while the horn is in your hand and you're actually doing it, be satisfied with that. And I talk about that in the video. Coming out on Monday, I hope. Let me get caught up here. Hi, Eddie and all. My son was over and I was baking a little. When's dinner? Let's all go to Karen's house. Anticipating the great snowstorm. That's right. It's coming. So a little late to the party. That's all right. I figured, because we're low on numbers today, I figured that's probably what's going to happen. Pearl and I are going to be doing stuff in the yard tonight. I have 2 gooseberry plants, actually 3, but there's 2 that are in the ground. They're Cape gooseberries, and all I care this year, I'm going to cut some branches off, and we're going to try to get them to go, but all I care this year is that they don't have to start over. That's all I care. So I bought heating lamps that I'm going to put inside of some to eliminate the fire risk. I'm going to put them inside some clay pots and put those underneath the blanket. I did that last year with my tea plant, my Hawaiian tea plant, and it worked beautifully. Now the tea plant is touching the roof and about to flower. So I've got that covered already, but I need to get back there and cover the gooseberries. So anyway, so we're gonna do that today after the Q and A. I'm gonna eat lunch and then head out there. Um, Karen says I've taken a week off so far after my oral surgery, but am getting antsy, trying to wait until my stitches come out, hoping I'll still be able to play after 2 weeks. Let me tell you what I've been doing at dialysis. I've been practicing mentally. Why didn't I think of that? I went a whole year and a half on dialysis and didn't think about practicing mentally. Today, I practiced the Chikowitz study and the A flat tonalization studies. The second set, not the first set. The second set isn't published. But yes, I practiced the second set. I mean, yeah, the second set of the. I practiced for a whole hour up here. I'm ecstatic about it. I'm ecstatic. In fact, I remember sitting in the chair after I was done, wishing someone would bring it up, so I could tell everybody about it. Yeah, I practiced. It's been going on for 2 weeks now. Mostly tonalization studies, but on Wednesday I decided, hey, why don't I do some long tones? So I've been doing the my altered version of the Chikowitz study. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Um, you know that they've done research. I've been teaching people about this all this time. Why didn't I think? I'm gonna blame the kidneys. You know, I'm just gonna blame the kidneys. You know, you don't think right when you're on dialysis. Anyway, so yes, I finally figured it out. I've been getting a whole hour on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of practice time. Um, so give that a try. If you're antsy, give it a try. How do you do that? Okay, I'm at dialysis. I can't hum. I'm too self-conscious about that. So I hear the pitch in my head. I'll tell you what, the hardest thing I had to do was the augmented scale because I can't hear that without humming or singing. So that one took me over an hour to finish. It usually takes me 15 minutes. So how do you do it? You can hum. You can sing. You can do it that way, but when I'm at dialysis, I don't do that. I just do. I hear it in my head. I finger at the side of the chair. There's the arm of the chair, and let's say this is the arm of the chair. Um, I finger on there. I can't finger like I would normally finger because I've got tubes coming out of my arm. Right? Um, all right. Kevin asks, how do we know if we are progressing as quickly as is viable or if we are limiting ourselves? I'm going to say that the sign that you're limiting yourself is anxiety. If you have outbursts of anger, frustration, anything emotional related to your practice, that's how you know. And so how do I know that? Because I've seen it. It's not a coincidence that the people who have all of that don't make any progress on their horn. I've seen it so many times. Okay? So that's how you know, is look for, dig deep into your soul and ask yourself, is this just nuts and bolts? Dig deep into yourself and ask yourself, am I just doing the steps? Or do I care too much about this when I'm playing? Anyway, we're over time and there's work to be done. So thank you guys for joining us, even though it's the weather is so bad. Um, and we'll pick it up again next time. Please be safe with all this, Kevin. I know you're going to be experiencing some of this. I know Sean will be experiencing some of it. Karen, all of you guys are you. This is this the ice. Don't drive on the ice, please. I guess that's different for Karen because you live up there. But us Texans don't know how to do it. Okay, so if you're in Texas, don't drive on the ice, please. Okay. Um. Anyway, God bless you guys. Be safe, and we'll see you next time. Okay. All right. Bye.